Well, I'm happy to see you. There's a lot to catch up on because you tend to take a lot of time between albums, 11 years, 13 years. I think this is the first album, Jude, that's about to come out in 11 years.
I honestly thought the last album was going to be my last album. I kind of had enough of the business. In all honesty, I don't stop doing music. Whether you see it publicly or not, that's another thing. But it's just that it's as far as an album is concerned, there's a lot of heft and a lot of weight and a lot of emotion that goes into that, because I don't feel like the usual kind of pop artist. I consider myself a serious songsmith, and for me, songs take time, and especially if you want to have the right lyrics, the right melodies, the right mood, the right emotions, and the right connection with people.
Well, speaking of, emotion and heft and connection and all that, I'm going to ask the obvious. I mentioned that this album that's been more than a decade in the awaiting is called Jude. What's the significance of naming an album after that song at this point in your life and career?
For me, Jude was all about a coming of age in many respects, because it was hearkening back to some of the comments and lyrics in Hey Jude. It only really sort of meant something to me much later in life, when I was, listening to what he had written. What he was hoping for me is to, take the weight off my shoulders, of the world off my shoulders, and, to find love and to be happy in life. And so, I very much took all of those moments on board, all of those comments. So that's why it's so relevant. And recently, in 2020, I decided also that I was going to change my name, because originally my name was John Lennon, John Charles Julian Lennon. Anyway, I decided that in 2020, after going through another learning process in life, that I wanted to become Julian. I was sick and tired of being someone else's John. And so by deed poll, I changed my name to Julian, Julian Charles John Lennon. That was all related to Jude and Jules, which is my nickname on a daily basis. So it just made sense to me. And also with what was going on with the Beatles and Get Back, and my feelings about that too. So it was all intermingled.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So since you brought it up, how your father was portrayed, how the band in general and their dynamic was portrayed, how the marriage with Yoko was portrayed. I'm very eager to hear all your thoughts. I've watched Get Back, all 8 hours of it, at least twice.
It's a lot to process, but there's parts that Sean and I had never seen before. But for me, it really reminded me of the way Dad used to be, when we were together when I was a kid. He was funny, goofy, sarcastic, talented, moody, broody, but fun, goofy. The list goes on. And that was all the things that he was to me when we lived together. And it made me fall in love with him again, which was really lovely. It made me appreciate him again and reminded me of how he was before everything went a bit pear-shaped, I'd already kind of forgiven him many years ago for all the stress that happened in not only in my life, but Mum's life too. Certainly we tried to embrace each other's company and tried to learn about each other again before he passed. And it was an enjoyable experience. It was great. And I was longing to hang out with him even more. But, sadly what happened. And what are you going to do? So this was just a way of remembering who he was, and seeing the human side of him again. And that inspired me, and I loved that. And it just gave me a different take on him again, as an adult, seeing that. And I walked away from it loving it. So that tied into also, the idea of the album being Jude as well, So it was coming from a lot of angles, and it just felt like the right title and the right thing, and owning it. That was the different thing, is being Julian, being Jules, being Jude, who I am. So that for me, it's about also breaking through any fear and anxiety that I used to have about the Beatles, about Dad, about everything.
And then the other kind of full circle thing I want to talk about is that you recently covered Imagine, which for the Global Citizen Stand Up for Ukraine social media rally. And I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, well, I never thought I'd sing it either.
Imagine all the people living for today.
I had no idea what kind of reaction I was going to get. I really didn't. I didn't know if people were going to come down on me or not. But I have to say, I've had more respect from doing that than I've ever done anything else in my life. People, the way they talk to me, the way they look at me, and the way they treat me now is completely different than before I did Imagine, which I was surprised about. I think what has happened because of Imagine, though, is people have been directed to not only the work that's coming up, Jude, but earlier works as well that just didn't know about earlier work before. Because I still get comments, especially from people in America, that haven't known that I've had 5 albums in between Volot and now. It's like, really?
Tell me about why, especially for this worthy cause, why it felt like the right time to play one of your father's most iconic songs.
It's just like, okay, I know what I've got to do. How to do it, once saying yes, was the difficult thing. It has to be honest. It has to be real. It has to be from the heart. It can't be a polished version. It was about keeping it raw on every level. And I heard it back and I was tearful. And it felt like my own, So I believed in it and I just said, okay, let's put it out. The weirdest thing is it's been the biggest weight off my shoulder because, I guess I'd always felt that it might come along one day, that the idea of me having to do that, but it felt like the right time. It felt like with everything else that's been going on around the world, it felt like it was, getting close to the end of the world. And I thought, this is a time and the place to do this.
I think about your father's generation. I think about the 60s and the protests against war, songs about peace. I feel like that never happened, looking at where we are in the world today.
It shocks me every day. I ask this question every day. We've been around for thousands of years and we're still doing the same BS. I just can't get over this. I'm not a politician, nor would I ever want to be, but I certainly can do my best as a creative to do what I can in all the mediums that I work in, which is what I've done, whether it's the children's books, whether it's the documentaries, whether it's the photography, or whether it's the White Feather Foundation. I've been doing my bit, that's for sure, and we'll keep doing it, with fingers crossed that someday something's going to change. It's not about shoving things down people's throats. It's about starting those conversations in the hopes that, there will be change to come.
Have you ever thought about what your father would think of the world today?
I think he'd be as pissed off as I am, really. I think we'd be in the same boat on this one.
This album is coming out in early September 9th, I believe.
9th on the DSP's, vinyl 10th, which is Mum's birthday. It's kind of special. And it's significant for me in that respect. I mean, calling it Jude for a starter, we were both there then.
What do you think she'd think of this record?
I would think she loved it. That's what I would think she would think. In fact, I would hearken to say that she loves it. So, I don't see any other signs that would suggest anything otherwise. So.